No Man's Sky has now been released for a whole 8 years, and the game has changed dramatically in that time since its botched launch back in 2016, making it almost unrecognisable from its original state. But as we've just gone past the 8-year anniversary of the game hitting our consoles and PCs, I thought I'd create a video going over some totally awesome but lesser known facts about the game, its history, and even some awesome pre-release stories and pre-release disasters. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get stuck in. Let's get this one out of the way first, the sheer size of the game. Now, we all know No Man's Sky is so unimaginably big as it contains 18 quintillion planets in over 250 galaxies overall. But I'm not talking about specifically planet count or galaxy count, I'm more talking about how long it would take you to explore every single planet. Now, let's say if you touched down on every single planet for just a second, it would take a single person a mind-boggling 585 billion years to see them all, which is just nuts. And that's not even taking into account travel time between the planets. If you were to say allow for 3 minutes per planet including travel time, which is a bit more realistic, then that number jumps all the way up to 105 trillion years. According to Reddit user Danny Pan, who is probably better at maths than I am. It's just unfathomably large. Now, if someone could work out that from those numbers how long it would take every single human playing the game to explore it all in the comments, that would be pretty awesome to know, because my maths is decent, but it's not that decent. These days, video games, especially the bigger ones, tend to be made by hundreds of people, and they usually have an insane budget behind them. But did you know the initial release version of No Man's Sky was made and marketed by a team of just 17 people? And those 17 people consist of a producer, 9 programmers, including Sean Murray himself, 5 artists, 1 designer, and 1 person on comms. Now, I'm pretty sure that team over at Hello Games is bigger now than it was back then, though they are also working on Light No Fire at the same time. But for such a small team to be able to come up with a game the sheer size of No Man's Sky, it just beggars belief. And sure, the game wasn't perfect at launch, but when you compare the size of the team with other major games, it's just pretty astounding what they managed to create with so little people. Now, it wasn't all plain sailing for that small team either. Even discounting the botched launch No Man's Sky had, well, nearly a total disaster a few years before when Hello Games' studio was flooded around Christmas time in 2013 due to severe UK storms at the time. Yeah, we do get some proper terrible weather over here in the UK. Most years. Now, this Christmas Eve flood caused Hello Games to lose pretty much everything, ranging from PCs and laptops to dev kits, furniture, and everything in between. Now, at the time, Sean was reluctant to say just how much the value was lost, well, what was lost, only that it would probably fund a small game. Now, thankfully, this didn't stop No Man's Sky from going live a few years later, though it may have affected some features in the development process because we all know many were missing come release of the game in August 2016. And some of that may or may not have been down to the fact that their office flooded and they lost almost everything. Now, moving on, there's 2 people you'd never think of putting together are Sean Murray and Kanye West. Yep, but many years ago, Sean Murray had to in fact turn down a meeting with the rapper now officially known as Ye. If we rewind back to 2015, E3 was in full swing and No Man's Sky happened to be one of the hottest games on the roster. And Sean claims he had to turn down a meeting with Kanye himself because he had already scheduled meetings with none other than Steven Spielberg and Elon Musk. Supposedly, Kanye wanted to see the game, and as Hello Games weren't on the show floor, it would have had to be a private scheduled meeting. Turns out making a game like No Man's Sky, especially back then, gets you meetings with all of the big hitters out there. You can actually search for the interview Sean gives about this on YouTube. It's definitely a good watch, so I would recommend it. It's pretty obvious that if you spend a few seconds in the same spot whilst you're in space and look at a planet, that they do not rotate at all and they don't orbit their sun. But this wasn't originally going to be the case. In the early development days of No Man's Sky, the planets actually did rotate, but supposedly this feature was scrapped because beta testers thought it was a bug when they flew up into space only to come back down and find everything was different and not where it was. Or vice versa, like everything in space being a different place when you've been on the planet for say 5 minutes. That probably wasn't the only reason behind Hello Games opting to remove planet rotation, but it was one of them, and they instead opted for the sun, or indeed the stars, to rotate around the planets instead, which is how you get the regular day and night cycles you'll see when exploring the planets. On YouTube, there are loads of videos out there describing how you can get millions, if not billions, of units in No Man's Sky, and I myself have created one or two of these kind of videos over the years. But did you know the absolute maximum number of units any player can have is 4,295,967,295 units? Which, on the face of it, may seem like a pretty random maximum number, but there is a very good reason for it being this number exactly. So 4,294,967,295 is the largest 32-bit number in hexadecimal notation, and the number cannot rise any further without there being an overflow error. So, any No Man's Sky videos out there claiming to make you billions upon billions of units in no time at all will in fact only get you the maximum of 4,294,967,295 units. And in theory, this will be the same number for both the maximum amount of nanites you can acquire as well as the maximum amount of quicksilver. Now, if anyone wants to try it, let me know in the comments, but it would take either some modding or just far too fecking long, and as I don't play on No Man's Sky on PC, I can't be bothered to try and get that many nanites or quicksilver, so is what it is. Next up, did you know that No Man's Sky has its very own unique alphabet? In many places when you're exploring the game, so whether that be in the anomaly, on a freighter, in space stations, in planet buildings, or whatever, you'll occasionally come across what we might perceive as random symbols. But did you know these symbols are a one-to-one equivalent of the Roman alphabet, including the numbers 0 to 9, a period, colon, space, and question marks? And if you translate them, these will spell out words in the English language. So next time you see some characters look a little bit like these, why don't you spend a few seconds or minutes translating them to see what they say? They might say something totally interesting, you never know. It doesn't take a genius to know that the vast majority of content in No Man's Sky is procedurally generated, but one thing that you may not know is also procedurally generated is the music/soundtrack. The soundtrack doesn't get played at random, oh no. It will be generated procedurally depending on where you happen to be and what you happen to be doing at any given time. So whether you're exploring a planet, taking out sentinels in combat, or anything else. Also, a fun fact, the entire soundtrack, or at least the vast majority of it, was done by by Sean Murray's favourite band, 65 Days of Static. And they have an entire No Man's Sky album on Spotify if you ever wanted to listen to it. Moving on, did you know that you can crash the economy in a No Man's Sky system? It's super simple to do, and it can be a useful method to use if you want to make yourself millions of units, but only up to the limit I mentioned earlier in this video. Sadly, it's not as lucrative as it once was because a couple of years ago Hello Games reduced the value of some of the most popular resources to do this with, but it is still possible to do. And the premise is simple. Get yourself a whole bunch of reasonably valuable and common resources, such as cobalt, and then head on up to a space station or a trade terminal and sell every last resource of it. Suddenly, the price of cobalt will have plummeted, and then you can buy it all back at a very discounted rate, and then you can move on to a new system and repeat the process, causing economy crashes for that resource in systems, whilst making yourself super rich at the same time. Winner, winner, all the units for dinner. Coming in at number 10, and yes, I realise I haven't really counted the rest of the facts in this video, but anyway, this is number 10, and this fact is, there are regions in the vast No Man's Sky universe known as civilized space. Now, civilized space is a region which is formed by an individual or a group of players, and some of these groups have been around since the very beginning of No Man's Sky's release. Well, almost. The earliest ones date back to January 2017, which is 5 months after the initial release of the game. Anyway, some of these civilizations contain upwards of 2,500 members, and a few examples of the biggest ones are Galactic Hub Project, the Alliance of Galactic Travelers, and the United Federation of Travelers. You can actually visit the No Man's Sky wiki page for more information on all of these civilizations if you so desire. It's pretty cool that they're classed as an official civilization in the vast virtual universe of No Man's Sky. And to top it all off, if you do decide to look them up and then visit their area of space, they tend to have some of the best bases I've ever seen created in the game as well, so it's definitely worth your while to check those out. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, folks, if there are any other awesome No Man's Sky facts I haven't mentioned in this video, why don't you leave a comment letting us know what that fact is. The more facts we can get in the comments section, the better. And there you have it, folks. There are a bunch of awesome but totally random facts about No Man's Sky, its development and its history. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it taught you something new. And if you happen to still be here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can also become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video and I will catch you in the next one.